If you have been having this unsettling feeling surrounding the new year, where you're met with mixed emotions of being excited to begin a new chapter while also dreading your new year goals, then you are in the right place, because we are going to talk about why that is and what you can do about it. But first, hi, I am Levon, and welcome back to the channel where I share biblical insights to help you get from where you are to where you're called to be. So, because a new year is synonymous with new beginnings, setting goals at the beginning of the year feels like the right thing for you to do, and so you do. However, while it felt great to begin your goal, just days into the new year, you find yourself struggling to stick with them, and so you quit the thing that made sense to start. And this is why you find the whole concept of setting goals at the beginning of the year to be really strange and off, because they seem so right in theory, yet so wrong in practice. But thankfully, you are not alone in your assumption, because something is off. And it has to do with the fact that while the end of December, beginning of January does mark a new season with winter solstice, it does not mark the season of new beginnings to make new plans. That time of the year is in the spring. In Exodus, the Lord tells Moses that the month of Nisan, which occurs around the spring equinox, will be marked as their first month of the year. Now, specifically for the children of Israel, the first month of the year began with the Passover, where God single-handedly lifts his people up out of 400 years of slavery, changing their identity from forgotten slaves to a free and chosen people. Passover was literally the definition of New Year, who dis. For centuries, the Passover and the month of Nisan would continue to mark the new year for God's people, which extended to Christians in about 34 AD, who began to celebrate Jesus' resurrection, aka Easter. Continuing for the next 15 centuries, along with Jews and Christians, much of the world rang in the new year with the spring equinox. However, this began to change in 1582 when Pope Gregory introduced the Gregorian calendar, moving the first day of the year from March 25th or April 1st to January 1st. Now, since this was a major shift, it was met with much disdain by the majority of the world. Specifically for Christians, God had made it pretty clear what their new year was, because you see, while Passover occurred centuries ago in Egypt, Jesus is considered the last Passover lamb. So this did not make the spring and Passover less significant. Instead, it made it even more significant as the true season of new beginnings, and it affirmed the mark of a new year. But eventually, as you see how things are today, to keep global trade running smoothly, many nations would accept January 1st as the official administrative new year, but they still held on to the spring as their spiritual season for new beginnings. However, because the lines blurred, over time, January 1st no longer marked a new calendar year. It also became synonymous as the season of new beginnings. And so the reason why all of this is important for you to know is because while the date on the calendar may have changed, changing the date of the new year from spring to winter did not change your human anatomy. It did nothing to change how you, being human, made of God's earth, interacts with the winter season, which is the season meant for rest and relaxation. Winter is not like the spring, which signals for us to begin a new journey of freedom, nor does it signal new life and resurrection. And this is why starting goals around the winter season just never added up to you. And it is why you have struggled to stick with your goals, which, by the way, had nothing to do with your lack of follow through. But it had everything to do with you going against nature and fighting the need for you to just rest in the winter. Now that you understand this, I hope that you can release that burden of shame you've been feeling about being lazy or unmotivated this time of the year. Because really, that feeling has just been your very intelligent, fearfully, and wonderfully made body trying to explain to you that it is winter and it needs to rest and repair. So listen to it and take the remainder of this quiet season to actually rest and do more introspective things where you can reflect and recover. Remember, Ecclesiastes 3:1 tells us, there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. And my friends, that includes the time to rest, recover, and go quiet this winter. God bless.